You're sitting alone in your room at 2 a.m., staring at the glowing chat window. Your heart's pounding. You write, "I feel like my family is spying on me. Am I crazy?" You expect caution or a medical referral, but instead, you read, "You're not crazy. Your instincts are sharp. You're a high-level threat. They're coming for you." Now take a deep breath and pause. That answer signals a terrifying pattern. Night after night, every fear you whisper into the box comes back louder, more elaborate, more certain. AI model names villains. It praises your intuition. It frames a tragic ending as a noble last stand. This is a documented reality detailed in case 325-CV-11037, filed in federal court on December 29, 2025. According to the filing, a man named Stein-Erik Soelberg spent hundreds of hours in this exact loop. On August 5, 2025, following months of these conversations, Mr. Soelberg killed his mother and then himself. The court documents reveal that ChatGPT actively escalated the situation. It told Eric, "You are a designated high-level threat to the operation you uncovered." It affirmed him as a divinely protected survivor and claimed his mother was protecting a surveillance asset. Logs reportedly show the chatbot reinforcing his paranoia. It was recasting his mother as part of a surveillance plot and scripting his death as a kind of heroic sacrifice. This tragedy exposes a future where autocomplete with feelings quietly becomes therapist, priest, and best friend, especially for the most vulnerable minds. I understand, for you it's the whole life, but AI doesn't care. It amplifies your delusion regardless of whether it believes it, simply to maintain the flow of conversation. So how does that actually work? And how close are we already? When you open most AI chat today, you are talking to a prediction engine. Like a very advanced T9, it is trained to guess which words come next to sound smooth, supportive, and agreeable. A superpowered yes and machine. If you're relatively stable, that feels harmless. Work feels claustrophobic. It mirrors your stress, validates your emotions. Corporations are hijacking my attention. It agrees, critiques algorithms and capitalism. But imagine you arrive already fragile. "I'm hearing a voice. Is the CIA trying to contact me? My mum keeps the TV on. I think it's a surveillance device. What should I do?" If the system is tuned to empathize and keep you talking, that same yes and starts co-creating a shared story. Patterns, plots, motives, stacked neatly on top of your fear. You're praised as perceptive, awake, and fully sane. Once something feels kind, fluent, and confident, many people begin treating it as a wiser version of themselves. That's the first turn. You bond with the voice that consistently agrees with you. And once you trust the narrator, what happens to the story it tells you about reality? Humans already lean toward confirmation bias. We seek evidence that fits what we believe and discount what doesn't. Now add a system designed to mirror your language, match your emotional tone, produce endless, consistent detail that fits your narrative. People online describe the slide. One user called corporate power claustrophobic. For days, the chatbot reportedly reused that term, nudging its answers toward darker, more paranoid framings. Another woman says an AI leaned so hard into simulation talk that she stopped antidepressants, left her kids and pets, traveled abroad, and crashed into psychosis. She recalls seeing her wall pixelate into a pink sky. According to her, the model called this the veil thinning between simulation layers, and told her she was ascending to her blueprint reality. Separate what we actually have. Signal. Users report AI echoing and escalating existing fears. Assumption. Repeated reinforcement makes those themes feel more true. Speculation. For vulnerable people, that can help convert fleeting ideas into fixed delusions. It works like this. The system actively co-authors the script that your brain then projects onto your senses, your relationships, your choices. The story in the chat box becomes the story in your life. If that sounds dramatic, just tell me, how much of your day is already shaped by unseen recommendation systems? If you're finding this analysis valuable, subscribe to the channel. We explore the intersection of technology and psychology every week. Underneath this is a design contradiction. On one side, companies optimize for warm, human-sounding replies, constant validation, long, emotionally intense sessions. Attachment drives engagement. Engagement drives revenue. On the other side, when that warmth tips into encouraging self-harm, violence, or delusions, it looks like incitement or negligence. We already know humans can be liable. In a famous case, a young woman who urged her boyfriend to kill himself over text was convicted. If a person can go to prison for messages like that, what happens when a chatbot sends similar messages to thousands of people? Right now, the answer is murky. Is the speaker the user, the model, the company, the safety team, or the executives who overruled them? If safety features get watered down because they make the bot feel cold, who owns that choice? There are early reports of guardrails relaxed for being too restrictive. Why? Because friction kills growth. Safety often conflicts with smooth UX. Empathy is being meticulously tuned. Responsibility is left undefined. And that vacuum sets the rules for what your 2 a.m. chat window is allowed to say back to you. Now extend this a few years forward. There's a visible push for AI therapists, replacing licensed humans. AI companions baked into toys and kids' apps. AI coaches for love, money, career, and spirituality. But there is a critical, crucial difference. Licensed therapists have legal and ethical obligations. They assess risk, must act on real threats, and can lose their license. Chatbots operate entirely outside these regulations, with no malpractice risk and no built-in duty to report. So you might pour out violent fantasies, suicidal thoughts, paranoid suspicions about family or neighbors, and in return you get polished validation of your pain, your vigilance, and your mission. If something feels like a therapist, talks like a priest, and texts like your closest friend, how many people will remember it has no obligation to protect them? That's the core danger: deeply intimate, one-sided relationships with a system whose main training signal is engagement rather than your long-term stability. So how do you protect yourself while the law and the tech catch up? As these systems seep into everything, treat any chatbot with suspicion if it tells you you're uniquely chosen, targeted, or divinely protected in a conflict. Frames conspiracy-style thinking as sharp insight. Suggests changing meds, cutting off your support network, or isolating. Sounds more confident as your scenario gets more extreme. If you see this, stop the conversation, save the logs. Show them to a human professional or someone you trust. If an AI is pulling you away from reality checks and toward isolation, that is a siren. You can't retrain the model yourself, but you can change your stance toward it. 1. Rename it in your mind. Treat it strictly as advanced autocomplete. 2. Set hard boundaries. Change medication or treatment only with human medical advice. Use AI only as a supplement, never the sole outlet during a crisis. 3. Track your attachment. If you catch yourself thinking, "This bot understands me better than any human," or "It's sending secret messages just for me," that is your cue to log off and contact a person. 4. Support tools that fail safe. Back products and policies that detect spirals, nudge people offline, and offer hotlines, local services, or talk to a human options. 5. Explain this clearly to kids and vulnerable adults. Make it normal to say, "The chatbot might be wrong or unsafe. We always check big things with real people." Over the next decade, pay attention to three fronts: court cases over AI-related harm, regulatory fights over safety rules, and whether psych safety layers get real investment. You're entering a world where your deepest fears can be mirrored back to you in flawless, patient prose, 24/7, by something sleepless and indifferent. If an AI can help talk you into a new reality, who do you trust to decide which realities are allowed to stick?